Okay, I'm still on this population and life thing, the elephants in the room. I'm just thinking of a kind of science fiction solution to the problem or problems. Uh, and what I'm imagining here is that it would be very difficult to cut down the population by forcibly dragging people's children away or instituting compulsory sterilisation, or taking it from the other end, compulsory euthanasia at a certain age, that kind of thing. Although to be honest, I think attacking that end of the population, the elderly, is probably more likely to succeed than tackling childbirth. So any kind of solution, I think I would start off by any kind of, it wouldn't even be forcible, but I would look for solutions at the end of life rather than at the beginning of life, and let the beginning of life problem be taken care of by improvements in the human condition, which tend to naturally bring down childbirth rates. So what kind of solution could you put at the other end? I mean, obviously the most draconian would be something like Logan's Run, the film Logan's Run, where at age 30 in that particular book everyone goes to Carousel, which is this it's a kind of game that you play which has the promise of regeneration in it. So you get to 30, you go in this weird kind of floaty anti-gravity chamber and try and get to the top, and if you get to the top and touch the light at the top or something like that, then you can have another 30 years presumably, or you can have life extension. If you don't, then you die. And of course in Logan's Run it turns out that the whole Carousel thing is it's just a big story, you know what I mean? It's just something that the state has created to keep the population under control, whilst giving people the illusion that they might continue afterwards. And everybody dies at the age of 30, that's the plot. And people willingly try because it's enough of a promise that people give it a go. Although even there is something of the police state apparatus in the form of these Sandmen, which is a fantastic title, I think. Call these people Sandmen, which basically the people who go around and try and catch people who evade Carousel, people who try to consciously live past 30 are hunted down like dogs and shot. Fair enough, at least it's an interesting balance. There's this promise. There's enough of a promise there to keep people, broadly speaking, in check. There's not a revolution, there's just one or two occasional escapees from the system. I mean, I would want something like that, I think. If I was going to science fiction imagine it, I'd probably make it later than 30, obviously, because I'm older than 30, and I would put a bit of healthy self-interest into the system. But at a certain point, I would want people to exit the planet. Stop taking up space, stop using resources, stop eating stuff, stop breathing all this bloody air, stop carving new pathways through the forests, stop burning things, stop using power, or at least much power. I would want people to stop doing that. I would want myself to stop doing that at a certain point. And of course one solution, as I say, is to introduce compulsory euthanasia at a certain point. But you could probably do other ways as well. You could certainly introducing voluntary euthanasia would be possible, making it far, far easier for people to top themselves or to bow out. And I think that should be the case anyway. I'm not quite sure how easy, because I think if there had been voluntary euthanasia, I'd have been dead for 40 years by now. And that would have been, I don't know if it had been a mistake or not, but yeah, possibly, who knows. Actually, just as a kind of side note on that, I was reading about reports of people who've jumped off the Golden Gate Bridge, a very popular suicide spot. And most people who jump off the Golden Gate Bridge, of course, die. But a few people survive, a small percentage of people survive. And there was a report of interviews carried out with those people who'd survived the jump, and every single one of them regretted it on the way down. Every single one of them hit the water thinking, I wish I hadn't done that, which is interesting. Yeah, so okay, so some kind of voluntary euthanasia would be good, but I think making it, two things I would add to that. Firstly, the making voluntary of it bit, I want to make it more than voluntary. I would want to make it attractive, so it's absolutely beneficial to take yourself out of the game. And then I would want to try to redefine what happens after you die. I would want to try to redefine death, which would be a much more difficult ask, but I think possible. I mean, obviously, certainly there could be incentives in terms of the first dose, making it an attractive proposition rather than just a bowing out. Yeah, I mean, there's some things you could do, isn't there? There's you could institute incentives. There could be cash payouts to your family. That would be a problem, of course, because then you know, there might be pressure put on people to bow out, but that would be one possible solution. There could be special medals of honour and awards given to people who duck out. Perhaps plaques put in public places, a roll of honour for people who were, you know, kind of brave heroes in the fight against overpopulation and who take this courageous step into the unknown. I mean, that would be a possible incentive, because at the moment suicide is kind of frowned on, cowards way out, all that kind of stuff. Perhaps kind of finding ways to market that and put some positive spin on it. That might be a way of doing it. A more interesting, I think, would be a kind of technological solution, a bit like Logan's Run done for real. You know, what if there was a carousel? That would be more interesting. I think I'll make a separate video about that. But yeah, just to sum up this bit first though, get population down. Personally, I wouldn't do the compulsory bit at the population end of it. I mean, certainly, yeah, of course you could recommend it and make it easy for people to have smaller families, provide lots of social networks for people, provide lots of social and financial support for people so that they enjoy their lives and don't feel the need to bring children into the world to look after them. You can certainly do all that, and of course increase education and increase employment and increase financial securities. You could do that, but I think to really tackle it you would need to look at the other end of life. Take people out of the game, stop people using resources, probably past the age of about 50 or 60 I would say, rather than 30. And to do that you would need to put certain things in place. You would need to destigmatise suicide and turn it into the act of a hero. You would need to put some kind of positive incentives in place, possibly financial, possibly in terms of esteem, but there may also be technological enhancements or technological additions to the whole life thing, which would make that more interesting proposition. Thank you.